Welcome to Screen It or Stream It,
where we take a look at a movie that's in theaters now
versus one you can stream at home,
and we try to decide which one should you go with. This week on Screen It or Stream It, we went to see Despicable Me 3. As you might guess, that's the sequel to Despicable Me and Despicable Me 2. I like to be obvious like that, and so do they. Basically, it's the ongoing story of Gru and family as they're getting bigger and bigger. Seems like they add family members every episode now, which is fine. But he ends up going head-to-head with child star, gone supervillain, Balthazar Brat. He was from the 80s, and he maintained that rather garish fashion sense and impressive mullet, I must add. And as you would expect, if you've seen the previous two incarnations of this, there's a lot of slapstick, a lot of rude humor. If you want to not subject your kids to that, I thought it was funny, but, maybe not for the little itty-bitty ones. Of course, minions everywhere, doing minion-y things, and pretty much it's what you see is what you get if you're familiar with that franchise. So, we all went to see it. What are we going to rate this one?
So our consensus was 3 stars, although we had some dissonance that it kind of fluctuated there, but pretty much 3 stars.
All right, and like I said, really it's kind of more of the same. There's a lot of, it's the spy kind of villainy stuff, where they've got all the super gadgets and, craziness.
And like you said, it's a Despicable Me movie. Mm-hmm. The plot's basically, bad guy wants to take over, Gru's got to stop him.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I think to review this, we should break it down by characters.
Okay, so we've got Gru, who in the original first incarnation was the villain. Protagonist, but he was a villain. Turned good kind of toward the end, was good for the second one if I remember right, and hunting down bad guys, and that's where we pick him up, still hunting down bad guys, and then bad things happen.
And really, I could kind of take or leave Gru. He didn't have any great lines, he didn't have any really great moments.
I could see that.
Just kind of, here's Gru.
I like him just for Steve Carell.
The brother, Drew, they basically took Gru and took away what little personality he had and made him a twin brother.
Who wasn't good at being nefarious.
The brother wasn't interesting to me. Gru wasn't that interesting. Lucy, his wife, wasn't that interesting to me.
I really felt like what they were trying to do with her, trying to be the mom,
that was heartstring pulling, but it
should have been its own movie if they were going to do that. Yeah. That should have been its own thing. Instead, they just kind of put that on the side, peanut butter and jelly, and you just get a little corner of the jelly, and that's it. You need the whole spread.
But basically, those 3 characters, I was like, whatever. But then we've got the minions,
which are always funny.
And they're always funny. They're always cute and doing ridiculous things. And the minions are good. They have funny moments. May not be the best in the world, but the minions are good. Then you've got the daughters.
I love the daughters.
The daughters were super cute and funny, and yeah, I like the daughters. And they were being more of themselves, just like they are in the other movies. They're over the top, sugar and spice and everything nice, and it's great. The show, the show stealer,
Balthazar Brat.
Balthazar Brat. The bad guy is the best part of it. And I got to thinking about this. So the first, easily say Despicable Me, the first one is the best one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Curse your tiny toilet!
And
gets me every time.
And Gru's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bad guys are more fun.
In this case, I agree. Gru was a lot of fun as a bad guy doing bad things. Even though there was a worse guy who he ended up having to stop, that was still fun.
Even in this movie, while he's being a good guy, the minions want to be bad guys. They want to be the bad guy minions. So, the bad guys had more fun.
Yeah.
It's more interesting to watch. And I really thought... So Balthazar Brat's 80s TV, was a little kid, show got canceled, and he became the character from the show, kind of like a psychotic break. And he was a really bad kid, and now he's a really bad adult, like you said, with an awesome mullet. I thought it was big ball spot. We need a name for that. What do you call a mullet? Ball spot.
I'm not sure. Would that be a monk mullet? Could be because they had the
Munket.
Munket.
I don't know. but he was hilarious. He was so over the top and so nefarious, and it was
the dance fight. I so loved when they would, because dance fight, and then he just kind of dances out of the way, and
he never grew out of whatever happened to him in the 80s. Like he stopped that year, so he's still dressing the same, listening to the same music, and it's basically poking fun of that 80s aesthetic throughout the entire thing. And
of course, for me, that's nostalgia.
Yeah, I was going to say, as, children of the 80s, that was like, yeah, I remember that, the huge shoulder pads and the music, and he was really fun. Like, if there was one good positive, he was really, really fun. He was over the top and silly and stupid, but he was a lot of fun. The story, most of the characters, but really, I think if you're going to try to decide, should we go see this or not go see this, you probably already made that decision. It's a Minions movie. Yeah. It's a Despicable Me movie. If you like them, it's all right. You're probably already planning to go see it. If you were on the fence about it and you couldn't decide, should we go see it, have we got a streaming comparison?
Yeah, we've got some options. I thought of a couple different things. I think what I'm going to go with, actually, is Shrek. Which, it was not the first one I thought of, and it's not that much like Despicable Me. It's got a few things in common. The animated style, for one. They've both that computer animated stuff. And the hero is a typical villain, basically, because the ogre is kind of the bad guy, the stereotypical bad guy, and Gru's a villain. But it turns out to be there's more to them. They've got layers, like an onion. I will say, though, Shrek is much, much, much better done. Even all the sequels for Shrek, all of them were much better done, in my opinion, than any of the Despicable Me movies. Also with the rude humor and the big cast of characters.
Well, and I had a really hard time picking a streaming comparison because I just really didn't feel Despicable Me was up there. So do I compare it with another cartoon and I feel it's like down there? But I didn't want to do that because if I'm going to give you a recommendation, I want it to be something good.
A good one, yeah.
So I would say Monsters, Inc. would be my recommendation. Again, same thing.
Yeah, I get, because
they're pretty much the villains, but they're really not that bad.
Heart of Gold.
Heart of Gold. You got the little girl that pretty much looks and acts just like the little
she
girl.
Does.
But if you're thinking about Despicable Me, you've probably already seen Monsters, Inc. But if you haven't seen Monsters, Inc., again, much better than Despicable Me 3. Be better to stay home and check that out.
All right, well, I think that is all our time for this week. Thank you for watching Screen It or Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesday nights, because that's when we go.
You know the other movie I thought of? Get Smart.
Get Smart. For
a comparison for Despicable Me, because it's kind of that same spy world, and it's a comedy, rude humor, but it's a movie, not a comedy. So, it is a comedy, and Steve Carell. So really, that's